Money. Money is something that we all need more of for a thriving life, to feel safe and secure, and to build a great business. Yet so many things can get cluttered in that because money sure can feel messy. Hey everyone, it's Acacia, the CEO Legal Coach. This is the Aligned Business Series, and we are live 3 times a week answering your questions about these topics after I share some insight lessons that I work with my clients and client stories. And I definitely have some of those for you today. And today's topic is clearing what's going on with the money so that you can set prices in your business that skyrocket your revenue, but also feel good, right? We want to feel good about the money we're making, not guilty or shameful or feel like we're underpaid. So let's dive in. Let's dive in right now. And let's start with the idea that what it is to even find if you have money guilt or shame or what's going on with that. Okay. The first is decide you want money, and decide that you're going to change that want into a decision that you're going to get money. You're going to have money, and it's going to come through your business. Decision versus wanting is very, very important. It's very important because wanting is a yearning. A yearning means it's not here right now. So even the idea of wanting, if you've ever heard of blocks and things like that, it is a mental block. It says to the universe, I want to continue wanting money. And when you continue wanting, that just propels, right? You spiral what's called up with that. You're like, I want more money. Oh my God, money, 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 money. And suddenly you have this big want desire for money, but you've never actually decided to have the money. You want to decide to have the money. That's what you really want. You want that money. You don't want to want money. You want to have the money. So we first want to do that. We want to decide. But sometimes that can be a little difficult. That can be difficult. Maybe the number is intimidating. Maybe you don't know where it's going to come from. You don't know how it's going to get there. And you've got a few levels when it comes to money. So let's kind of dive into those money guilts and the fears around it. Because first and foremost, we need to even be okay with money in general. You're not going to get through your business or through clients or anything else if you're just even nervous about money in general. Which, if you're not wealthy, if you didn't grow up with wealthy parents and around wealthy people, you probably have some embedded. Because here's the thing, when you were born as a kid, you had zero thoughts about money. You barely knew where your foot was, okay? You didn't know, in fact, you didn't know where your foot was for a few more months. Money was blah. You didn't think about it. You didn't think about it as a need. Your needs as a child is, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I want to breathe, and I want to put my foot in my mouth. That's what you are as a child, right? That. So when does money start to come up? It starts to come up usually at that age of like 4 to 7, where we realize our parents are up to something. Our parents are up to something, and maybe they fight over money. Maybe they're scared of money. Maybe they feel trapped in their jobs. There's something you as a kid start to psychologically understand, even though you've never been sat down and had a money lesson about it. It's not like your parents sat you down and were like, okay, well, money is really difficult, and this only comes through jobs and things like that. But those are things that we've put into our head, right? Or I grew up in the religious context, so money is the root of evil. Wanting money is selfish. And when you have these things rolling around in the back of your head, because it's not in the conscious part, conscious you wants the money. You want to have that money. But your subconscious is embedded with all of those little things you absorbed back when you weren't like established enough to think about it. That's the thing. If somebody says something now on the news or in your social media feed, you can think, do I agree or not? But as a kid, that do I agree or not wasn't working yet. It wasn't working yet. So your subconscious has all these other beliefs. And they are about money in general. Money in general, right? They are money as a need, right? We sit there and nobody says you're selfish or evil for wanting to breathe or wanting to eat or needing sleep every now and then. But heaven forbid you want money. Oh my God. Well, it's just as important. Money as a need. But just as air and food and all those other things are abundant in this world, money is too. Money is too. It's not that the money hasn't been abundant and like everywhere and everything. It's that our parents showed us there's a gateway. and we picked up whatever gateway our parents used or had. Okay. So you first want to go through and just explore your ideas and thoughts, maybe journal on it about what you think about money in general. And then you want to look at it as money as a need. What is your relationship with it as a need? Does that cause panic to you? Or is there this knowing that I'm taken care of? Everything is okay, right? And then we want to look at your parents. Write down everything that your parents or whomever the main 2 to 3 adults were in your life. Usually one will be in the feminine energy and one will be in the masculine. I had different ones. So whatever yours are, whatever those examples that you would have seen them as a child growing up with money, right? Maybe it was a TV show, but it's usually whoever is our gateway to the money. Because we would ask for things we want. I really want this bike. We can't afford that. We can't. Money isn't groceries, right? So now you've been told there's a gateway to the money, to the wealth. And that gateway was not your gateway. It was the gateway your parents or whomever that adult was believed that and acted and behaved on that. So you absorb their gateway. There is no gateway. Okay. I love to remind some of my clients of the idea of I was told, well, we can't afford that. Well, is affording something the only way to get it? Is affording something the only way to get it? No, it could be gifted to you. You could win it. You could get a scholarship kind of a thing for it. There were so many different ways to get our access to something we wanted, but we went to our parents as the gateway, and whatever they said in response, we absorbed as truth, ultimate truth, even though it's not. Okay. So that's the next thing we want to do is look at our mindset around that. And then today I wrote an exercise that I think it was Jen Sincero I got this from. She's got a great book. You Are a Badass at Making Money. Love that book. And she talks about having her clients write a love letter to money. Have them write a love letter to money. And the idea is we have a relationship with it. Just like you would have a relationship with your parents or with your dog or with your children, with your spouse, whatever relationships you're in, there's a relationship. And we tend to have mixed signals when it comes to that relationship with money because we tend to believe you're not there for me or I wouldn't know what to do with you. And, I love you, but I hate you. We all have different stories in our dynamics and our relationships there. And that's something we want to explore because what is money's side of the relationship? Is it always there? Yes. Money is everywhere. Everywhere. It's currency. The governments, there's plenty of governments. They all have it. Now we've got Bitcoin. We've literally created new currencies, and that's just currency. So it's not that the money isn't there. It's that we don't see it. We block ourselves the gateway. We have this weird love-hate relationship with money or fear. Maybe it feels like an abusive relationship. Things like that. So we want to explore those. How do we want to clear that money guilt? Usually it comes up in one of two ways. You could just sit there and, like I said, start writing. Start writing, stream of conscious. Just let whatever comes up, comes up. You can intentionally go through every one of these. What are my thoughts about money? What are my thoughts about money as a need? What were my parents' thoughts about money? And what does my relationship with money look like? Another one is, as you start to think about money, notice if anything changes in your body. Does your stomach clench? Do your toes wiggle? Do you get a fist? Does your jaw get tight? Those are signs of a somatic energy that's blocking your field of, it's creating resistance. It's a type of block. So when you're doing the law of attraction, the thing is whatever you're vibrating on, right? You're vibrating on these things. And if you have a block, let's say, I have a friend, really, really tight jaw. She's got to get injections and everything. And something's being stored there, right? It may not be physical, it may not be, like a cyst or anything. It might just be energy. Energy creates its own physical place in us. And so when we're thinking about money, when we're thinking about these things, does anything in your body change? And start to realize where the shifts are, because that's where some of the blocks are hanging out, and get them out. Like I said, one of my favorite ways is doing somatic thinking. You can also breathe into it. There's different biohacks you could do to get in there, but you want to do that. Okay. So this is really, really important. We can't change the dynamic and our thoughts about money without being honest about them. Okay. And you can't have the money you want to have if you still keep thinking the same way you've thought about it. If you keep thinking feeling the same way you thought about it. We must change these dynamics. So we have to go through those first and foremost. Okay. But now let's go on to the pricing side. And this is where I definitely have client stories because this is something I've helped clients with a few times. And I already see some of you come into the chat. Yep, I see your questions in there. Yeah, money is important. Absolutely. The hell is this accent? I do not have an accent. I have lived all over the world, so it's probably a conglomerate of them. But I love that. Which words am I saying with an accent? I'll figure that out. But okay, back on to pricing now. When you want to do pricing, this one comes up a lot with my clients, and I hear so many different stories from them. Wow, I don't know what to do here is usually what it is. I want to do this with my pricing. I want to be a boutique like this, or I want to have a brand like that. But then they'll be like, but my competitors charge this. My competitors do it that way. The market's so bad right now. I can't charge $10,000 for a client. No, I'm having a problem getting clients at $2,000. So I tell two big stories. The first story I love to tell is the idea of I used to work for a company that had like data and basic products. So you would license data or information from them. I work for mapping companies. I work for data companies. I've worked for software companies. So you would come along and you would get whatever access to whatever dashboard or information you needed to prepare for your business planning, right? You're making a model or something, or dashboards, like I said. So one of the ones, this set of data or information would go for around $5,000. $5,000, people would come in, license it for a year or two, and they would build their models and so on off of it. Well, then they'd come back and say, hey, we're going to go public now. We're going to have an IPO. We're so excited for this. Because we've been using your data to help us plan and map the business, we want to publish these parts of it in our IPO stuff so we can get great investment, right? So we can get a great stock price. Can we have your permission to do that? And I would say, hey, yeah, but there's going to be a price tag to that use. And they're like, okay, what's the price tag? And we would make it up, usually somewhere around $75,000 to $120,000. They were paying $5,000 for this. $5,000 for 1 or 2 years of use. And now I'm telling them it's going to be $75,000 to $100,000. What? And you know what? I think every single time, I don't know that any of them ever said no. I think they all said yes, and it was usually within 24 hours. Like, how can that be? How can that be that one day it was $5,000 and the next day it's $75,000? Well, let's look at the value to that client, right? If you're just trying to get some basic data, do some basic business planning, are you going to pay $75,000 for just a piece of that? Probably not. $5,000 makes more sense for that. But if you're going to go have an IPO, you're going to go public. You stand to make tens, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars, right? There have been some massive IPO public offerings where you sell that stock and you get incredible investment. So when they go to do that, what do they have to do? They're hiring business advisors. They're bringing on some of the best banks and consultants and all these things to make sure they have the best selling one in their industry. That's what they want. That's what you need. And $75,000 when you stand to make hundreds of millions, it's a drop in the bucket. The value of that data, the ROI for that client suddenly changed. It was never what the product was. It was how the client is using it. And that's really, really important here. That's really, really important that you can do that with your pricing. What is the value in your pricing? What is the value to your client? Okay, if your client can go get the same thing somewhere else, faster, cheaper, whatever, okay, what is different about you? What's your value proposition? What makes you different and unique? That matters. And what a lot of my clients don't quite understand is your energy. And here's where we're going to get to the second story. Your energy, your vibes about how you do something, who you are and how you go about it is part of your value. It's part of your value, right? Like I offer contract templates and I offer them in a heart-filled, soul-filled, elevated way. I am not giving you the boring crap that was just found on the internet. Sure, you can go find free templates if you want, but you know how those are going to feel to you. You know they're not going to have you at their center. You know they're not going to elevate your business by the vibes. You don't even have to read the document, which you always should, but you don't have to. You already understand it feels different because it was made with a different type of love. It was made with different love. And that matters, right? That matters. So, if you want any of those, or just go to ceodealcoach.com/shop. They should all be in the shop. But that matters, right? Yeah, you can get templates anywhere, but how do they feel? How boring are they? How much are they aligned to who you are as a business owner? That matters. Which brings me to my second story here. I love to tell this story. When I started my business, it was just like a side thing I was doing while I was working full time. And so I would just charge, menial stuff, 1, 2, 3, maybe $5,000 for something. And that was enjoyable. It's nice extra money, like an extra $5,000 a month on the side of my job. I love that. But what was happening is I'd be like, I'm exhausted. Why am I exhausted? Because I have to go have this call now, my 5th call with this client, and this client barely pays me $200 a call, right? So I feel low vibe about that call. And it's not the client. I love my clients. I love all my clients. And it wasn't what they were asking me to do. I love that too. That's why I said yes to the project. I started to realize there was a value to me getting up and ready for the day and ready for the calls and how I felt my energy would be. So let's say you're like, you know what? I'm not charging $200 a call anymore. That's it. But then you have somebody who then comes and overcharges. Let's say now you're at $20,000 a call. Okay. If your clients are willing to pay that, they're willing to pay that. That means there is something there. Okay. It is not the number $20,000. It's how it makes you feel when you get up to have that call. When you have that call, are you like, oh shit, they're going to find out I really don't know that much. Oh my gosh, this package is not really worth it. They're going to figure it out. Am I worthy of this? I don't know. Now the number has caused you to doubt yourself. That number has caused you to feel off internally. It's no worse showing up to a call being like, this is not worth my time versus, oh my God, they're going to find out I'm not good enough, worthy enough. This isn't worth $10,000 or $20,000, whatever price I said. So it has an internal vibe, that mindset, those emotions, all of that is part of it. So what's the number that feels right to you? The number that's going to get you out of bed excited and happy to bring your best to your clients and is not overcharging. Just because you can charge something doesn't mean it's what feels aligned to you. We want what feels aligned to you. It's okay if there are other coaches out there that can charge $20,000, but if you feel in the vibes at $10,000, I want you to do $10,000. That's where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to do what makes you happy and feel aligned mentally, emotionally, and physically, spiritually in the moment. Okay. So, and I do have other money stories, but I will leave it to that so we can get to some of these questions. Let's get to your questions. What are your questions on removing the money guilt and that pricing fear, setting those prices? How do I know if I'm undercharging or just pricing strategically? How do I know if I'm undercharging or just pricing strategically? First thing that kind of jumps out at me with some of these words is the idea of knowing and strategic. These are thought processes, okay? Now, of course, the thought is important. You're not just going around being like, I feel into my business every day. There's a balance. You have a mind, you have a body, you have a heart, you have a soul. So the mind is part of it. The question is, how much power are we giving to the mind over your soul and your heart? So how you know is how it feels. How does it feel? If you feel aligned and whatever that is, that's the joy you want to be feeling. That's the love you want to be feeling. So if you're trying to overcharge or undercharge or being strategic, you might be overthinking. Yeah. So look at that. Know that. And of course, know what's going on in the market, but just because there's a recession doesn't mean everybody else is having problems, because you're not trying to get everyone else. You're trying to get the clients that are aligned to you. Clients that are aligned to you are going to be looking to pay that price. When we go shopping for a shirt, some of us in our head are like, okay, I'm not going to pay more than $10 for that shirt. Where somebody else might be like, you know what? I'm not going to pay more than $1,000 for this shirt. It's relative. I think it was Oprah who once assumed that all throw pillows were at least $500. Right? Where others of us like, I go to TJ Maxx for my throw pillows, So what is it that is yours? That there's a number in your head, there's a number in your client's head. So don't worry if you would pay that. The question is, will your clients pay? Can I raise my prices and actually attract better clients? Yes. I teach my clients that it's not just about your price, it's the rest of the package, but that means your contract as well. So in your contract, you might have things like identification. Is there what's included and not included? Are you having any type of scope creep? Behavioral things. What about timing? What about rescheduling? All of these different types, the whole relationship as a whole. The more your clients pay, the more they want clarity and articulation about every single one of those pieces. They want less uncertainty. So when you raise your prices, there's more to it than just the dollar amount. But yes, your right client will pay that for you. Absolutely. Because if it feels misaligned, you're going to feel like they're over asking and underpaying. To somebody else, that's a perfect client. But you've said yes to something less than you're aligned to. So you're going to have responses that feel that way. Okay. So can you raise your prices and actually attract better clients? Yes. It is about the frequency. Your clients are looking for the frequency that you're on, and they need you to be in alignment to that. Otherwise, they can't find you. Yeah. Like I said, some people will pay $5 for a throw pillow. Other people will pay $500 for the exact same throw pillow or the shirt, right? It's where they're at and where you're at. And does it align? What money beliefs keep entrepreneurs most stuck? Oh, okay. It's not really one big belief that most entrepreneurs have. But what I've seen in my clients is, let's see, how do I articulate this? Everybody knows what they want. They all do. They won't let themselves believe it. They won't let themselves decide it. They come in with all these others. I want this, but that. I'm feeling aligned to this, but then there's this, and that. This part, what you want, that is your heart, that is your spirit, that is your energy being like, this is where we want to rise to. And then it's your mind, overthinking, the doubts, the guilt, the whatevers that push it back down. And so we need to remove these. So what I would say is that if there's anything in your life, you're like, this, but, get rid of everything after the word but. Get rid of all of them. Figure them out, whatever that is. And so I see that's the way I would probably describe it with entrepreneurs a lot. And it could be around a launch. It could be around starting the business. It could be about client relationships, right? I have a whole program just about client boundaries, because that's such an area where we're like, I want to be treated like this, but then they're going to feel bad and I'm going to feel bad and all these other things. And it's like, it's nonsense. Anything after the word but is a block. It can be removed. It can't be removed. And when you remove that, suddenly you go, and that's where I start to have like the big, we tripled our biggest month ever, we've doubled our revenue, the results or whatever, is when we've gotten rid of this. When we've allowed them to make a decision anyways. Screw this. Go for this. Okay. How do I avoid resentment when I have already underpriced something? Change your prices. Who says your prices have to stay that way? If you've signed a contract, obviously follow your contract. But then also tell yourself and know in your heart, this is the last time this is ever happening. Go update your templates, go update your pricing online, whatever it is, go update it right now. Right now. And then everything that you've promised is now going to be in your rear view window so far. It's going to start being in the rear view window. And let it there. Let it happen there. Finish your contracts, finish whatever you've promised at that rate, and then let those clients go. Let them go. What if I need the income now and feel scared to charge more? Okay. Charging more isn't the only way to get more income, love. Charging more is not the only way to get more income. Today's call is not about increasing your rates. Today's call is about removing guilt and fear and having prices that feel aligned. If your prices already feel aligned, don't change them. Don't do that. That's not what you're called to do, right? That's not what's in alignment for you. But if you need the money now, it sounds like you might be having a scarcity moment. You might be having a fear block around access to money. What I would say is, what if you already had the answer? If you already knew where the money was and how to go about it and doing all that, what would you do? What would that look like? Because you're telling yourself, or there's a block inside of you that was maybe implanted as a child that's putting that block in your way. And by having it there, you're having blinders. You're not seeing everything because there isn't a lack of money. There is not a lack of money. Money is everywhere, right? I live in Vegas. Just 2 weeks ago, won $1 million across the street from my house, literally across the street from my house, $1 million. So money is everywhere. Money is everywhere. Let's get our hands on it and let your creativity come in. Okay. Remove the blocks and see what feels creative and inspired here for you. I think we had one left, right? Do I have one left? What's the difference between charging fairly and overcharging? Alignment. It's all how you feel. Be aware, have, like I said, the info about what are your competitors doing. It's not bad to know that, but do not base your decision on that. Like I said, the $5,000 versus the $75,000 to $100,000, same product, different use. What was its value to your client? Right? I had the same when I have my clients. Okay, you have somebody, you're just starting your business. It's going to be your very first template. That is very, very different than the people who are about to close a $10 million deal and they need me to lead that. That $10 million deal has a lot more going on. They're also a lot more established usually. And so they've already been through the ring. They bring a different vibe. They're not new business owners. They're 5-10 years into the business. So it's different. So I get to know the value to my client, but also what I'm going to bring to those clients. I'm going to be a lot more personally involved in a $10 million deal than I am on creating templates. And of course, I'm there and I customize all my clients' templates for them. Don't get me wrong, I have plenty of first-time business owners where we do that. But I don't have to come in with all of my knowledge, and I don't have to come in with everything that I would do at a $10 million deal negotiating, right? Because I have to bring my negotiation skills there. I have to bring my red line skills there. That's different than setting somebody up for success. So I get to feel different about those two. I get to know the value to both of them, and I get to meet them at that energy. What energy do I want to be at when I'm helping somebody build their business for the first time versus when I get to help somebody close the biggest deal they've had thus far in their business? Very different vibes. So fairly and overcharging is about how it feels. You have your mental awareness, but you do not need to make decisions based on that. I don't care what your competitors are doing, because who says your competitors are doing it right? Who says they're doing it right? Who says they're doing it the best as possible? I don't think so. And if you're charging the exact same thing, what else is there to be a reason to stand out to your ideal client? Those things are not there for you, right? So I love you all. I will see you all tomorrow, Friday, 10 a.m. We are going over, what's the topic? How to use intuition to get clarity and answer questions in your business. Yes. Oh, that's a great topic. I'm excited for that. Okay. I will see you all there.